Hi, I'm Rachel, and welcome to Do You Mindful. So this week, I'm going to be talking about self-compassion. I think that the best way to try and understand self-compassion is by first understanding compassion. Compassion is recognizing and being moved by the suffering of others. Now, that's not to say that we view others' suffering in a way that benefits us. However, it's offering care and kindness and understanding for others when they're in pain. Self-compassion is essentially doing all of those things, but within ourselves. The way that we treat ourselves informs the way that we treat others and the way that we see the world. So if we're not nice to ourselves, then odds are we're not being nice to others. The first element of self-compassion is self-kindness. Self-kindness is being warm and understanding to ourselves when we suffer. Sometimes I think that we tend to be very self-critical in the effort to improve ourselves and be better, but this self-criticism weighs us down and really takes a toll on our mental well-being. Self-criticism can be helpful sometimes to monitor how we behave and our actions, but too much self-criticism can really be harmful. The next element of self-compassion is common humanity. When we judge ourselves, we have this distorted view that we are the only people who are imperfect. We are the only ones having these problems. We are the only ones struggling. Because we are only inside of our own heads, we don't realize all of the judgments that other people are placing on themselves and all of the problems that other people are having. We only realize what we are facing. So, common humanity is the realization that every person is suffering in their own way. It's not just you. You're not alone. It's part of life. It's part of being human. Recognizing that every person in the world has struggles and faces failure really puts things into perspective. We tend to be our own worst critic, but other people are their own harshest critic. They're not focused on criticizing you. They're focused on criticizing themselves. And when we all recognize that this suffering is universal, yes, obviously suffering is not desirable, but knowing that other people are going through it too takes the weight off of our shoulders and makes it feel a lot less lonely. The last element of self-compassion is mindfulness. So mindfulness in this context is really about recognizing the way that you're treating yourself. It's about decentralizing from your emotions. Your emotions are not actual objects. They are not real. We are these free-flowing beings, and yes, we're afflicted by emotions. There's something that we feel, but they don't define us. Emotions come and go just the way everything does. And when we can gain this decentralized view of our emotions, it allows us to let them not take over who we are and to let them therefore pass. Mindfulness allows you to approach yourself and your emotions non-judgmentally and in a more receptive way. A lot of times we view ourselves with these closed minds and we get upset when we feel a certain way. We think that this depletes our progress. We think that feelings of anger and jealousy are holding us back. But when we allow ourselves to feel the way we do and say it's okay to be feeling this way, then these emotions don't override the rest of ourselves. Self-compassion is not self-pity and it's not self-indulgence. It's just establishing a more healthy relationship with yourself, a healthier internal dialogue rather than a dialogue that's harsh and angry and self-critical. I used to be very, very self-critical and it really weighed me down more than I ever realized. And when I started implementing self-compassion into my life, I started to view myself in a much better light and I started to treat others better too because I was treating myself better, and that's really what matters. I'm going to share a few phrases with you that you can use whenever you find yourself being self-critical or when you're judging yourself very harshly, or you can just use these first time you wake up in the morning. Anytime that you have a spare moment and you remember to be your own best friend, these are the phrases that you can say to yourself. So I'm going to be reading them because I don't have them memorized, which I should. So don't mind me. So one thing you can say is, "This is a moment of suffering." Recognizing our own suffering is really important, because when we recognize it, then we're able to move outside of it and see that it's temporary. Some other phrases are, suffering is a part of life. May I be kind to myself. May I give myself the compassion I need. That last one is really, really necessary, because we all need compassion. Whether we know it or not, compassion from others and from ourselves is so important to maintaining a healthy state of mind. And when you start to be your own biggest supporter, you'll feel so much better and freer when you exist in your everyday life, that you won't need the approval of others so much. So those are some phrases that you can use whenever you want to be kind to yourself, which should be always.